So I'm talking today with the editor of The Signal, Mr. John Howard at Think, and wanted to get a sense of kind of what you guys do, what you see the media landscape, how that's changing, especially on a local level. So first of all, what is The Signal?
So The Signal is a daily email newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
We cover Central New York. We like to focus on human interest stories, so the people behind the headlines. So we come out Monday through Friday, and then Friday we also come out in the afternoon. We do like a weekender arts version.
Cool. And then what made you guys decide to do an email newsletter as the medium of choice?
Yeah, we had, about 2 years ago, my wife and I purchased the Clinton Courier newspaper, which is a weekly, pretty traditional community newspaper just there in Clinton, New York, and we had no intentions to do a newsletter, but we kind of had being in the trenches for 2 years and kind of seeing the trends and trying to modernize that. We kind of came up with this plan because we were working pretty hard at it and really weren't getting any traction in terms of growth, and we didn't really see, looking out 5 years, 10 years, where we could grow, even if we,
did everything right.
Yeah, so we said, let's start over and come up with a new plan. And about that same time, we started seeing these national newsletters kind of coming back into fashion. With the Skim was really popular, it still is. Lena Dunham, we had actually heard Lena Dunham talking about the Lenny letter that she was developing while we were trying to figure out what we did. So like, what if we did that here, you know? So, and then eventually kind of developed that further into let's do a daily, one story a day. People, it's not overwhelming people. It's just one story that people could read every morning in there, and you're pushing content out to people. You're not asking them to come to your website. So it's a little bit easier to get those eyeballs on your stuff. So and if you think about it, I mean, the old days, the newspaper, I mean, some cases still today, but the newspaper would come to your doorstep and
so there was old school push notifications, right?
The door. It's really, I mean, it's really, if you look at it, it's really the new version of a newspaper. You're not seeking out. People say that reading news online, you're only reading what you want to read. You seek out the stories you want to read. This is kind of preserving that newspaper quality where this is the story and this is what it is today. You could read it or not. Skip it.
Very cool. So you guys did the. When did the Signal launch? Like, how long have you guys been doing it?
We launched on. I actually know this because it was Columbus Day. So we're like, oh, it's a holiday. We're going to launch on a holiday. But so that's October 12th.
Okay. So cool.
About a month. We've been a little over a month, I guess.
Cool. And you guys have been growing pretty steadily, subscriber. So would you want to talk about, like, what are you guys talking about subscriber wise?
Yeah, I think like year one we'd like to get up to 5,000.
Awesome.
That's we kind of set that goal early, and I mean we're still pushing toward it. When we'll hit it based on what we're seeing. It's just when we're going to hit it and how hard we're going to push. I think we'll probably hit it before then. We're already, I mean, what we did to transition was we transitioned all of our digital subscribers from the Courier over to the Signal, which there wasn't very many because there wasn't really any more content online versus in the paper. So we started really small, and already we have more subscribers than we ever had with total paper
with
or
the Courier.
online. With the Courier, we have more subscribers with the Signal.
So what do you guys? What you said it's kind of one story a day, and what do you see as the differentiator between what you guys? Obviously, it's one story a day, but like, where do you see the opportunity for the email newsletter, the kinds of stories that you guys are covering versus traditional?
There's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of noise. Like I said, we're just really looking for the human interest aspect of it. I think like media is moving toward this, recreating the conversation. People, the coffee shop. Environment. I think that's why podcasts are so popular, because a lot of times people like to listen to these conversations and they're not necessarily having those conversations in their own lives.
That's true.
So I think that's gonna be, creating those conversations, seeking out good quality content, not regurgitating press releases, really kind of digging deeper, whether it's, the one person that this story affects, or, just kind of trying to connect a little bit more, I guess, with the people behind those stories.
What do you think what's the story that has gotten, since you guys launched, what's the story that's gotten a lot of attention or traction, or people have been talking about? Is there one that stands out for you?
I don't know. It's still pretty early. I think people enjoy our Q&As. Every Tuesday we do a Q&A, so it's kind of, I think people like that format too, because they can kind of bounce around in it, where it's question answer and skip down. There's the data stuff. People sometimes respond to that, like looking at the data for the local elections and uncontested stuff, the Uber stuff. That stuff's kind of interesting. Just presenting stuff that's already available, that people, this data's published places, and just presenting it in a format that people can read and understand it. I think people like that. I think just if you want to include our time with the Courier, it's usually just stories about people. We did a story on a local dairy farmer that had to close his business because of big business coming in. He was had 50 cows and he couldn't keep up. So that got a huge response. So those are the type of stories that I think really connect with people that they can kind of relate to.
With you guys being a non-traditional media source, how has it been to go and interview folks? Do you feel like you get the same access, or what have been challenges associated with being a non-traditional media source?
Yeah, I think as long as you say, I haven't really run into it yet. Sometimes people are curious where you're from and whatever. Usually people just don't second guess it. If you say I'm a reporter from X, they kind of just let their guard down and talk to you. And a lot of times, it's not really, I'm not really going in blind. Usually I'm doing a lot of research and reaching out in advance, because we are spending a little bit more time with people, so they have a sense of who we are going into it.
Where do you see? No, that's cool. Where do you, I guess to kind of follow up on that, where do you see how do you see the landscape changing? You mentioned that, podcasts podcasts have been around for 10 years, right? And it seems like all of a sudden the past year or two, they're blowing up. How do you see the landscape changing, especially when it comes to covering local issues? Or is it changing?
No, I think people want, the reason I think there's a big need for people who, I think less and less people are getting cable TV. These are just trends we saw. That older age demographic that wasn't reading online, more and more people are getting iPads for Christmas, and everyone has an email address and they still want the news. But whereas that younger demographic that's not going to subscribe to a print newspaper, is really not changing. And that generation isn't really growing up with the paper spread out across the table, so they don't really have that connection that is maybe causing some of that resistance from that older crowd for that change. So I think going online, you kind of see it already. You see the New York Times on their Twitter, they'll have their poll quotes as photos. Everything's really visual now. I think there'll be a lot more video stuff. What we really want to do is, no matter how people are consuming media, is we don't want to build a new thing. We want to be where people are going already, whether it's YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. That's where we want to put our content on, because people are already going there. It's, people don't want to take the extra step to go to a website.
I agree.
So you just want to be where people are anyways, whether it's in their email, which we are now, like I said, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, these places where I guess people are already gathering. Again, going back to that coffee shop environment. People are already gathering, so let's give them some news to talk about. The newspaper industry, I don't think anyone has an answer. If people ask where is media going, I don't think anybody has a clue. I think there'll be less and less print. I don't think print will ever disappear. But it's it was really frustrating, because we're in this press association with the paper, and it's it's a lot of ideas floating around to support this paradigm that exists, rather than changing the paradigm to make it sustainable. It's like what else can we bring in to
sell,
to keep this thing going that people don't want, and it's just kind of like that's something we saw, and we were getting frustrated with some of the ideas. It's just like that your readers are becoming more savvy now, and they're gonna be like some of these advertising tactics and stuff, like people, they don't have the patience for that.
No, I know.
So just building something that that went into,
the people want to, like permission marketing, right? People want to consume it.
Yeah, and then I mean that's just our whole advertising model too. It's like we're not doing pop-up ads at you.
Yeah.
It's really kind of underwritten content that you become part of our masthead. Supported by, and that's it basically. One advertiser a day, really. And I mean that was something that I guess went into the development of it.
So if people want to want to learn more about the Signal, subscribe, advertise with you guys, where do they go and what do they do?
The easiest thing, it's free, by the way. That's another thing. People don't want to pay for media anymore. So it's a free subscription. People can go to wearethesignal.com. So we are the signal, ARE.
Awesome. And then what about advertising and all that stuff? You guys taking sponsors right now?
Yeah. And you can find all the information on that website, but it's just, if you want to send us a story, it's news@wearethesignal.com. If you want to advertise, send us an email, ads at wearethesignal.com. And really it's just keeping it simple. So like if everything's pretty much right there, and one sign up and then you're in, and you get it every morning in your email address.
Cool. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for coming by. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right.